let's talk about multiple generality. I first talk about some general things that you will need to pay attention to, and then we are going to discuss how we can symbolize English sentences that use more than one quantifier in FOL. So here's an important distinction. Sometimes you have a sentence that uses multiple quantifiers where the quantifiers appear in different subsentences. So for example, you can say that there is an x. If there is an x which is f, then all x are g. That's a good FOL sentence. You haven't violated any grammatical rules. Now, in other cases, however, you may have a quantifier that appears within the scope of another quantifier. Or in other words, you may have sentences with nested quantifiers. So here's an example. There is an x such that for all y, if fx, then gy. Now, the important thing to pay attention to here is that if you have two quantifiers that appear in different subsentences, as in our first example, these two quantifiers may bind the same variable, in this case x. That is okay. But if you have nested quantifiers, as in our second example, the two quantifiers have to bind different variables. So in this case, the first existential quantifier binds the variable x, and the second universal quantifier binds the variable y. So if you were to construct a sentence with nested quantifiers where both quantifiers bind the same variable, that would be ungrammatical. Don't do that. Second caveat, so very often when we make use of multiple generality, of multiple quantifiers, we are interested in many place predicates, or predicates that express relations between individuals. One such predicate is the predicate x loves y. Now here the order of the two blanks, x and y, is really important. So the property of being such that Anna loves blank and the property of being such that blank loves Anna, those two are importantly different properties. Being loved by Anna is something different from loving Anna. And so whenever you use many placed predicates, it's important to pay attention to the order of the two blanks and to pay attention to which names you substitute into which blank. So when we think about FOL and not English, and we symbolize x loves y by means of the two-place predicate lxy, what I just said means that these two sentences mean importantly different things. LAB symbolizes A loves B, but LBA symbolizes B loves A. And those are two importantly different sentences. So always pay attention to the order of the blanks and the order of the names in a sentence that makes use of many placed predicates. Okay, here's the third caveat. The order of the quantifiers, when you have nested quantifiers, also often is very important. So for example, think about the sentence, for all x, there's a y such that lxy. If the capital letter L represents the predicate loves, this sentence means everybody loves somebody. Now in the second sentence here, we simply swap the order of the quantifiers and say that there is an x such that for all y, lxy. Now this sentence means something very different. It means that somebody loves everybody. So in short, whenever you have nested quantifiers, it's very important to pay attention to the order of the quantifiers. Now let's think about how you can symbolize sentences that make use of multiple quantifiers in FOL. And here I'm just working with an example. The example is this sentence here. Only large objects have nothing in front of them. Now I'm going to make use of the same 5-step strategy that I used for simpler sentences. I start with a paraphrase. I'm going to paraphrase our sentence as follows. Only large objects are such that they have nothing in front of them. Now this sentence is a little more complicated. It sounds more unfamiliar. You won't hear people saying sentences like this one. But it is useful for us because this paraphrase allows us to identify the underlying formal structure of our sentence. The underlying formal structure here is only F's are G, where F corresponds to the predicate is a large object, and G corresponds to the predicate has nothing in front of them. Maybe let's choose different colors here. So F corresponds to large object and G corresponds to have nothing in front of them. Now that we've done that, we can provide a symbolization key. So I am going to symbolize is large or is a large object by means of the capital letter L. And I'm going to symbolize X is in front of Y by means of the capital letter F or the predicate fxy. And now we can symbolize the components of our sentence. So we said that F corresponds to large object. And so I'm going to symbolize fx by means of Lx. And we also said that G corresponds to have nothing in front of them. And so I'm going to symbolize Gx by means of the following formula. It's not the case that there's a y such that fyx. So being G in this case means being such that there's nothing in front of it. And we can symbolize this by means of the FOL formula. It's not the case that there's a y such that fyx. And now we can put it all together. I know that I can symbolize sentences of the form only F's are G by means of the universally quantified sentence for all x, if fx, then fx. Now I'll first substitute f with the predicate L, since that was my choice when I symbolized the components of my sentence. And next I'm going to substitute Gx by means of the formula. It's not the case that there's a y such that fyx. And that gives me my final sentence. For all x, if it's not the case that there is a y such that fyx, then Lx. Or more informally, more colloquially, for all x, if x has nothing in front of it, then x is large.